Hello and welcome back to Blood and Ashes. This is episode 35. I am your host Mo, and I'm joined as always by my keen-eyed friends Jody.
Sup.
And Willie.
Soup Sanja.
Oh.
Soup Sanja, is that a Asian dish? That sounds delicious.
No, it's Gujarati.
You're not making
What does
it.
that mean?
That doesn't help anything.
I'm more lost.
It's a dialect in India.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So not Hindi, Gujarati.
No. Gujarati.
Okay.
There
It
you
sounded
go.
like that's what Jody started saying and you just finished it for him.
Nah, Jody just didn't try.
I didn't try. I'm so hammered, man. Just so smashed. I'm exhausted.
Well, Jody, on that note, let me give you some good news. I'm going to jinx us here and say that I think this episode is not going to be an extremely long one. So maybe your exhaustion won't be worsened by this experience. God, I hope not. You look doubtful.
Look, I've been down this road
We've
before.
said this before.
I would like to believe what you're saying, but it's unlikely.
But all four of these chapters are all Perrin, it's all sort of localized. There's not a lot of stuff. Obviously we're going to find all the little morsels to expand upon, but there's not a lot of big picture stuff that we have to, discuss the implications of, blah, blah, blah. There's little bits and pieces here and there, but nothing major. This is not Rand coming back from Ruidian and seeing the future or the past or major revelations and that sort of stuff.
I've got 25 pages of notes. What are you talking about?
Dear Lord.
Double spaced, I hope.
Right. Crayon writing.
Yeah, I was trying to say all pictures. Okay, well, one thing that is going to pad the episode out a little bit is our favorite section called Callbacks. We made an offhanded Noam Chomsky joke when talking about Jane Fastrider's sort of alias, which was Noel. But Adrian wrote in to remind me that there actually already was a gnome in the story, Boundless.
Oh, yeah.
The man that had gone full wolf. His name was Gnome. So
Ah.
we were all probably half remembering that character, or maybe I was the one that misspoke and said Gnome instead of Noel. But yeah, Adrian was like, no, not Noam Chomsky. Gnome, Boundless.
Yeah.
The mailman, Richard Jackson, delivers once again. He writes
Thanks,
he writes in about our questions about Aes Sedai having kids. And he reminded me that the kings and queens of Manetherin traditionally were Aes Sedai and warders.
It is true.
And if the crown and the royal blood, quote unquote, is hereditary, they would have had to have kids to pass that legacy down. And as someone recently reminded me on Twitter, or on YouTube anyway, this has not been confirmed, but I like to think that Matt is a descendant of King Emond himself, and for that to be possible, Emond would have had to have kids. Now, you could throw a spanner in the works and say that because of the fear of having a son that can channel, maybe they used surrogate parents and the line is directly from the king. But Richard is quite right that, Alessandro probably had kids.
This is a terrible way to do any research. I have a conclusion. Now let me work backwards to find the evidence that supports
and completely dissolve it.
That is not the scientific method.
No. Oh, Jody, please. We're dealing with fantasy here, not science.
Oh, yes.
Rowan sent me a voice note to explain to me how he thinks Tarrabona should be pronounced, and he said it's quite obviously Tarrabona.
That's what I say. To not say Tarrabona. Although
Tarrabona.
Tarrabona.
I'm gonna drop the Tara and just call them boners. Just lean into it. It's too late. The horse is bolted.
Can't close the stable doors now.
Now, Villy, I'm starting to feel a little bit like you feel on a much more regular basis because I'm about to try to pronounce another submission or the surname of another person that submitted to us. The
See,
gentleman is called.
those are real people.
Yes, I can actually offend someone. In my defense, I did ask Stephen how to pronounce his surname, and he said, no, I'd like to hear you try. So, Steve,
There we go.
strap in. Here we go. Stephen Kozakowicz writes in to say, it seems like Suroth had been rounding up the Athanmir, the sea folk around the Bay of Cantorin, and taking their ships and rounding them up and that sort of thing, but with no mention of her singling out windfinders. So he just thought it was interesting that it seems like she might not have actually figured out that the windfinders can channel. Now I'm going to do what you hate, Jody, and work backwards to dissolve that statement and say, maybe would they have encountered maybe some windfinder channelers on the open seas? We know that Joran had taken out a Shaun-Chan ship with a Damane on it, so they would at least suspect. Maybe there were other instances where there was channeling coming from an Athanmir ship, but it wasn't specifically called out. So Suroth not quite on top of the windfinders yet.
She's got a lot on her plate.
She does, serving multiple masters.
It's her own fucking fault.
Now a correction from my side. I made reference to, weird, right? Avienda being mad at Rand, not only because he is the Kara Khan and he's going to break the eye heel, but because of going through the rings and seeing the eventuality of her sort of sleeping with Rand and the tow that she would incur towards Elaine. But after our episode, I was thinking about she does not necessarily know that Rand is the chief of chiefs, or he who comes with the dawn that will break the eye heel, because she's not actually gone into the glass columns. She's only done the rings. So I think all of her ire is based on the fact that she has seen herself incur this tow to Elaine, and not because of, she's not seen the visions of the agreement outside of Ruidian. That's from the heart. That's from the glass columns, not from the rings. So I don't know if the wise ones or anyone would have imparted that kind of knowledge to someone that's not a wise one yet, right? And that was my assumption. So I think it's all based on the Elaine thing. Now I can completely discard the fact that she's mad at Rand for being he who comes with the dawn, who's ultimately going to break the heel.
But she knows that he's he who's come with the dawn because he's got the tats already.
But she doesn't know what that means. They know that they, like all the sort of like the low-level troops in the Aiel know that they're going to go seek he who comes with the dawn. But those people don't go to Ruidian. They don't see what the Aes Sedai say at Ruidian he who comes with the dawn is going to do. I don't know if it's public knowledge that this chief of chiefs is also going to basically destroy the Aiel.
Yep, it's they don't have the intimate insight to what is the truth around he who comes with the dawn.
Yeah, what are the repercussions? Like, what does
and
it
no
mean?
One's going to go like, hey, so this prophesized person that's going to come, just be warned, it's going to fuck our world up completely. So don't be too stoked about it.
Yeah. Don't know. Listeners, write in. Clear up this non-clarification I just put into the callback section.
Give us a callback on a callback. That was already a callback.
Would not be the first. We had some confusion around like what happened with Matt and that fade in the stone again, and we speculated about like, what did he kill some trollocs and then retrieve his dagger and then another fade killed the fade? What the fuck happened? Now I'm going to read this to you and you're going to go, oh yes, of course, I remember this so clearly. Matt had killed a grey man that had tried to kill him, and then a fade approaches him down the hallway as he's retrieving his dagger, and he throws his dagger at the fade, and like we said last time, the fade just knocks the dagger out of the air with his sword like it's nothing. But then the fade is set upon, the fade actually calls him Horn Sounder. So we said the shadow knows that it's Matt, but then the fade is set upon by a dozen trollocs. It's trollocs that kill the fade, and then they leave Matt there and they run off, and Matt's like, what the fuck, was I just saved by trollocs? Not even like the shadow, but like the dumb shadow spawn.
Yeah, like I don't like being saved by them. I'm saved by something cool.
Saved by some idiots. Then we also asked, why would Matt's foxhead medallion have been going cold on his chest during that fight at Imre Stand? Who would be channeling at him? And Vinny, you were actually not far from the truth of it, because you were saying maybe if people were just channeling sort of flows near him. It's actually in the presence of any channeling, whether those flows are passing near him or not. It's
Okay.
anyone actually channeling near him can cause the medallion to go cold. So that would make perfect sense then with, Aes Sedai fighting trollocs and
Well, that's
all that stuff.
quite a handy medallion to have in heat
Oh,
battle. When you
it
like,
is.
at least you get some cold cooling. It's like Iron Man's cold heart.
In the waist, especially. Oh,
In the waist,
so-
yeah.
Yeah, just like to watch him now go and tempt all the channelers there. Moraine, hey,
I'm feeling really
hey,
hot.
don't you want to just channel a little bit of anything?
If he's smart, he would really try and piss off Egwene or Avienda or someone that's not like bound
yeah.
by oaths, or so they can like pinch his bottom or like switch his back or something, and then go, "Ooh, nice, cool medallion."
Nice, cool medallion in the waist.
Joe, we
What?
were sort of tickling our memory banks by talking about the little teleportation cubes and the Shido that
Oh,
were sort of under
yes.
control by a Forsaken. It's Samael, not Demandred, as I thought it was.
Yeah.
After Doomite Well, Samael appears to Savannah as in disguise, and he gives her these cubes with like these small stone cubes. They look like dice, but they've only got one dot on the one side. And he tells her that these are teleportation cubes, and that if you press them, they'll open a gateway for a certain amount of time, and you can pass through them and go somewhere. But he was actually full of shit. They do nothing. They're just stone. And when Savannah and the Shido use them, Samael manually channels the gateways that they think are opened by these little stones. It's like this weird convoluted trick that he's playing on them for some reason. I can't remember where he sends them or anything, but those teleportation cubes are literally just rocks.
Good.
Yeah. Suck it,
So
Savannah.
they can have
Idiot.
a sense of humor as well.
Yeah, they do. A twisted one, but there it is. Then we were sort of asking, we know that people call Carradine and, the guys with the shepherd's crook in the Children of the Light, we know that colloquially they're known as questioners, but we thought that's not their official rank. Are they called inquisitors or the Inquisition or anything like that? It's not actually that. Their proper name is the Hand of the Light, and their senior most position is the High Inquisitor.
We were close. That's close enough.
Questioners, yeah. Scumbags.
Inquisitioners.
Radam Asanawa is the what is it? The High
Hand.
Inquisitor.
All right. The hand.
Already fucked it up.
Still, don't
2
care.
seconds later. We were right that Egiani was last spotted handing over Bail Doman to Lord Turak. We hadn't seen her since then until we see her at the, what is it, the Silver Breeze or whatever. I'm not going to correct myself there.
Let's all take a moment to congratulate ourselves on remembering something. Well done, guys.
Yes.
Billy, have a sip of your wine.
Oh, there's more one.
Like you needed an excuse. And then Billy, when re-listening to our episode, I was I don't want to say triggered because that's a negative. There's a negative connotation to that word, but I was motivated by your vehement hatred of the geography of Tanchico with these peninsulas that you say are geographically impossible and it would take, rivers and things far longer than, or you were basically alluding to the fact that the erosion would not naturally have caused that. And I said, well, there was the breaking and that's not really natural erosion or anything like that. And you dismissed it out of hand. So I was like, where can I find that? So I went looking on just random maps for looking for something similar. I went looking at different archipelagos, to see if there's a similar coastline or anything like that. Did not find anything that looks even remotely like it. So then I thought, okay, well, how long does erosion really take? So I went and I looked at the biggest one, the Grand Canyon. I was like, okay, how old is the Grand Canyon? And some people think it is anywhere between 6 and 12 million years worth of erosion that caused the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, well, it is grand in nature. You can see it from
It's
space.
rather
It's
large.
kind of unique.
Yes. But yeah, I was just like, oh, Philly makes a a valid point. Like normal geography does not apply on this map most of the time. Another pet peeve along the same lines, Phil, is just like how the mountain ranges and the blight seem to make a nice big right angle just where, you know, a page border would end. You know, like, I'll draw this like bottom left hand corner of a map. Oh, I'm out of space. I'll just put a bunch of mountains over here. And, yeah, cool.
And that is probably what really happened. Like,
yeah, nice right
oh,
angle.
wait, we're expanding the world. We need a bigger page. Let's read.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it. Shara, huge. Isle Waste. There's lots of stuff back there.
It's just like 4 pages.
But no one talks about it. No one can go there, so they didn't draw any maps.
Yeah.
Magic geography.
Then the last one, Joe, I'm actually going to hand over to you just to explain to people what Bafana means after your sign off in the last episode.
Well, I started the podcast by screaming Boca, which is like to support the Springbok team, the rugby team. But we also have a football team, or if to our North American listeners, a soccer team. And they are called Bafana. What the hell that means, I've forgotten long since. It's lost in translations from many, many years ago. No one remembers. Except
can't
Billy,
possibly be included in next week's callbacks or anything.
No, can't be. There you go.
Okay, lost forever. Okay, well that's the end of callbacks. So
no, it's not. No, it's not.
Ooh, Billy's been holding on.
I have a callback.
Excellent. Oh, there's a first time for everything.
I held on to this callback for so long that I actually went and did my own experiment.
Whoa.
So unlike pseudoscience of working it backwards, I said, no, I'll work it forwards. I went to a trout farm. And I took Jamie to a trout farm.
Going.
And Jamie and I both caught a 2.5 pound trout each.
Mm-hmm. With your hands.
You try and handle a 2.5 pound trout while it's wriggly and slimy. And I can tell you, Moraine did not catch a 5 pound trout unless she used the 1 power. Which she can't because it's kind of cheating, in my opinion. But we
sort of suspected that she did because she caught 2 more immediately afterwards in a spot where Perrin and Loyal had already tried.
Yeah,
she was definitely cheating.
She was cheating. There's 100%. No 100% cheating.
And look, Phil, I mean, there's precedent here, but maybe she cast some kind of illusionary magic to make it even look bigger than it was. You know, she make it herself look bigger.
Mask of mirrors on each trout.
He's a big fish. Needless
After
to say.
After they cook them, man, these fillets really don't feel like they would come off a fish that size. Shh, just eat your fish, be happy. Okay, great. Really. I think that is the first callback from a non-Moritz member of this podcast. Let there be many, many more. Excluding, obviously, all the listener submissions that we get, which are really increasing these days and is awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I love the feedback, all of it.
It's the best. It does start making this whole thing more like a conversation, which is, what we are trying to shoot for. On that joyful note, this is probably the longest previously on Blood and Ashes section that I have ever put together, just from the sheer number of points of view and jumping around and scenes and stuff. It's phenomenal. And I mean, it was a 4-chapter episode last time, and we've done plenty of episodes with 6 chapters, and this is the longest one. So I don't know, Villy, take a nap. Jody, go get something to eat while I read all this out. So previously on Blood and Ashes, Rand, Matt, and co. arrive at Imre Stand, where they find evidence of a trolloc attack, and during the night, they're all attacked again. Villy's got a book open, reading. Asmodean quizzes Matt about the inside of Ruidian. Egiani is searching for Suldam in Tanchico under Suroth's orders, but she is already hiding one in her basement, despite a visit from a Sean Chan Gestapo. Leandrin takes control of Caradon in order to secure the Panox Palace, so she and her Black Aja sisters can find the Terangriel to control Rand. Nynaeve, Elaine, Tom, and Julian arrive in Tanchico, where they enlist Bail Doman to help find the Black Aja. Elaine confronts Tom about his relationship with her mother. Nynaeve meets Birgitta Silverbow in Teleron Riad, spots Asmodean snooping around Ruidian, and is attacked by Slayer. This is all in one scene. Perrin and his contingent of Two Rivers bowmen try to ambush a band of trollocs but suffer heavy losses when they are ambushed themselves. Perrin takes an arrow to the side, and eventually they make it to a group of tinkers who turn out to be Rain and Isla and Aram's group.
Spoilers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's only you find that out in this. Would you
Well,
find that out in this
there goes the
episode?
first half of my chapter. Ruined, Moritz. Ruined.
Okay, well, let's call it a day.
Everyone go home.
Well, speaking of your chapter then, Joe,
Yes.
it is chapter 41. It is called Among the Tuatha, and you are cleared for takeoff.
Roger that. All right. So, as we've been previously spoiled, at the end of the last chapter, all we know is that they arrive and they hear music, which obviously means tinkers. But we get confirmation of that at the opening of the chapter. And when Perrin and what's left of his raggedy band make it to the tinker camp, Gaul is immediately like, nope, 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 nope. And he says, I will sleep elsewhere. And he just lopes off. Perrin's like, yeah, whatever, bro. I have a arrow in my side, and I've just been responsible for 27 deaths. Whatever. Go sleep wherever the fuck you please. We don't care.
I need a break.
I need a break. Bane and Chiad are also talking very hushed tones, but very excitedly with Fail. It's like they're trying to get her to come with them as well, because they are also like, nope, we're not sleeping here with the lost ones. Perrin hears them say. But Fael's like, no, I'm staying with Perrin. It's cool. You guys can go sleep in the bush. And so off they lope as well after Gaul. And before they are out of earshot, Perrin hears one of them talking about, hey, we should get Gaul to play Maiden's Kiss. And he thinks to himself, I wonder what that is. We all know. It's a great game. Everyone should try it. And of course, it's Rain's group, as previously mentioned. Perrin can't believe it. Out of all the tinkers in all the world, you had to come into my bar. So he doesn't recognize Rain, that is, doesn't recognize Perrin at first. Perrin's pretty distinctive. I'm surprised. But anyway, I suppose Rain's, meets a lot of people on the road.
It's the beard.
Yeah, it must be the beard. Ah, that's right. He didn't have a beard last time.
You know how a change of hairstyle can just completely disguise a person in this world.
That's true.
Well, it's also, think about it, Rain has been beating that drum. They are on there dancing in the night vibe already with music.
He's on shrooms.
So maybe he's already on the shrooms.
Already well under the influence.
Probably. That's why. That's why Isla really takes charge, because Rain's just a figurehead. Can't trust him with anything. So anyway, he gives him the official greeting. You are welcome to our fires. Do you know the song? And Perrin immediately launches into the official response. It's like, your welcome warms the spirit, Rain, as your fires warm the flesh, but I do not know the song. And everybody freaks out. I thought this was a great scene.
That's cool,
Ivan
yeah.
and Fail look at him like, what the? Like, not only do you know the official response, but you know this dude. Like, personally, you mentioned him by name. And of course, all the Two Rivers men are even more infatuated with Perrin at this point. They must think he's some sort of demigod by now. Just like wherever he goes, he just knows what to do, when to do it. He's just in charge. Large and in charge, literally.
With the arrow in the side.
With an arrow in the side. At that point, Rain obviously like, oh, he called me by name. And then he looks at his eyes and goes, ah, yes, the eyes. I remember you now, Perrin. Isla approaches at that point, and she immediately recognizes him. She ain't no fool. She calls him by like Perrin Ibarra, welcome back. Long time no see. She knows him by name, surname, the works. All right. Rain and Isla, of course, they have a little chat there, and then Rain and Isla says, "Look, we got to help these guys. They're in pretty bad shape. Enough chatting. Let's gather everybody and start healing some wounds and tend to these poor people." Perrin warns them about the trollocs and suggests that the Tinkers head to Emond's field. And Rain pauses to think about it, which is really, really odd, because it's obviously ta'Veren at work here, trying to convince him to go and spend time inside a village, when since that episode we did, they know that anywhere where 10 houses are put together, there is the possibility of violence. Yeah. So they do not. And for 3,000 years, they've avoided villages, but he actually stops and thinks. And the ta'Veren nature is working on him, but it's still not strong enough to defeat that fear that they have inside them, that 3,000 years of training.
Doesn't he say something about it? Doesn't he say
yes.
I'm trying hard not to say no here. He
He's like,
alludes
yeah.
to the fact that he's struggling
He
against.
he turns around and he asks the rest of the Tinkers if they would like to go to the village, and like everybody freaks out. Like, what are you, crazy?
They're grabbing their children.
No,
Yes,
that is.
grabbing the.
He
What?
only asks them in the next morning when
Right.
Perrin leaves again. He tries again. Thanks for spoiling my chapter, Jody. Such a
Spoiler
such a
cast.
chapter thief.
He's passing it along
Moritz
after
brought
I
it
did
up.
it to him. Yeah.
Yeah. It all started with Moritz. So anyway, there's a whole bunch of explanation about Taviran. Perrin even thinks like, yeah, my Taviran nature can't work on these guys. Like I almost had him there, but it's like, and maybe it's the Aiel blood they have in them that they're just, immune to it to some degree. And also, 3,000 years of terror. That also
It's also their entire identity.
Little things, Moritz. Pedantics. Yes. Isla as well there's some great lines here in this chapter, and Isla looks at Fael and goes, "Oh, you're very beautiful," and she tells her as well that you should be aware of Perrin because I never see him without a beautiful woman. And she gives him this kind of flat stare. It's like, yeah, Fael's stares are very the way they're written. I hope to see them on screen one day because they are powerful. They help Perrin then to Rain and Isla's wagon to treat him for the arrow wound. Ivan as well is there, so he can see as well that Perrin is having a hard time coming to terms with what happened the night before, losing all of those people. And he tries to console him by saying, look, anyone can be surprised. Learn from it. Just don't take it to heart. Not even Arthur Hawkwing won every single battle. Perrin's like, yeah, I'm clearly not Arthur Hawkwing. Isla inspects the arrow wound and she realizes she is not equipped to handle this kind of thing. And Ivan there mentions, yeah, it's probably barbed, which is what the trollocs do. They don't use arrows very often, and when they do, they're hardcore arrows. You're not going to be able to get that out. So anyway, what they do is they make a little poultice for it at least and wrap him up. They do what they can to make him comfortable for it. They do mention, of course, that look, they'll have to get back to Emond's Field because they have Aes Sedai there. They'll be able to heal the wound for him, but they can't move him right now. I suppose it's too late in the day. I don't remember what time of day it is in this chapter, but they can't make it back to Emond's Field, whatever the reason.
Hitting
is.
the late afternoon. They're going to have a nice little sleepover. They don't specifically state the time, but the Tinkers only settle for the night, and they were already settled and make fires. So
Good
it's
point.
not kind of like the Tinkers to catch a 12 o'clock in the afternoon jam. They move.
Or maybe they'd stop for lunch, just have a little jam session. No. All right. So that's a good point. They'd stopped for the night and they were already in party mode, making the shroom teas and everything. They were ready to go. Oh, yes. I thought it was very gracious as well that Rain and Isla give their wagon to Perrin and Fael, and they just say, no, we'll sleep under it tonight. We'll sleep under the wagon on the ground, like in the cold, because we know it's pretty cold now still at this point. Like, what
with
gracious
around.
hosts. Yeah. Yeah, but they got a bunch of armed men in the camps who are hardened warriors by now. They've seen a trolloc
compared to the Tinkers.
Compared to the Tinkers, yeah, exactly. And they've got the the big dogs. So
the Mastiffs.
That's the one. I thought, yeah, as well. Like, I even wrote it, what gracious hosts. Like even when I get people to stay, I don't give them my room. I just sleep on the couch. I'll kick one of the kids out. How far we've fallen. Perrin's guilt is crushing him at this point.
Yeah.
And has been. Like I wrote again, 27 men killed. Young men, from my perspective at my age, these are children. They're 18 to 22s, they're the kids still, and it's grating on Perrin. It's really weighing heavy on him. Fael, of course, also tries to convince him that, it wasn't his fault. But, of course, to no avail. Perrin's convinced he was useless as well at trying to save the remaining people, and that Ivan was the one that really brought them out. But Fael reminds him that, look, Ivan only cares about you because Perrin does and Allana does. So he would have left the others to die. He doesn't give a shit about him at all. So it was you who rallied the people together to regroup, and then with the help of Ivan, led them out. He led everyone out just because they were with you. Fael gives Perrin another story that her father told her about generals. The worst thing a general can do is not losing people under his command, but abandoning the men that he does have under his command. So remind him, worry about the living, learn from your mistakes and everything. And Perrin's just had enough of these stories and just listen. who the hell is your dad? Because, first it's ice peppers, then it's a wool trader. Now he's talking about generals. Like, there's shit happening. So finally we get the truth from but before we get the truth from her, our favorite young tinker pops his head in to Aram is there. He pops his head in. It's such a quick scene and I love it. He pops his head in and he just basically wants to know if Egwene is there, but he gives Fael and a little "how you doing" look,
a little smile,
and a "hey, how you doing." Perrin basically tells him to fuck off straight up, like, get out. So he's out. That's gone, by the way. That's Aram's scene done. So Perrin asks then Fael about her father, like, give me the absolute truth, please, because there's just too many conflicting stories. So I've written down exactly what she says. My father is, this is his, he is Davram of the House Bashir, Lord of Bashir, Tyre and Sedona, Guardian of the Blight Border, Defender of the Heartland, Marshal General to Queen Tenobia of Saldea, and her uncle. Like,
yep.
Whoa. So you're telling me you're like a lady, not just a merchant's daughter or a sheep farmer or whatever the hell other story you told me, but holy crap, like
the Queen's cousin.
Queen's cousin.
Like, you are up there, So Perrin's like, shit, man, that's a hectic like info dump you've given me right now.
She's a noble lady.
She is a noble lady, indeed.
Well, she's noble.
Yeah. Doesn't act like it all the time. But she's young. Give her time. So she tells him she ran away from home. Both of her brothers died. Her older brothers. So she was left with the task of learning accounts and estate management when she was not keen on that at all. She wanted to learn how to fight. But in the Borderlands, they don't train the girls for battle or how to fight or whatever. But I think her father on purpose saw that and assigned a footman to her, who taught her, like, he's an ex-soldier. He was an ex-soldier. I didn't write down his name now, but anyway, he taught her how to throw knives. So, like, all her knife skills come from this old soldier. And he also taught her kung fu. So she can, that's that fight that she got into with Berylane there in the stone. Yeah. That is her training from this old soldier. When they arrived at the Tinker Camp, I just want to go back to that. I didn't mention this. Rain saw Perrin's eyes, and he mentioned Elias and running with the wolves as well. Like, have you seen Elias? And Perrin's like, no, I haven't seen him since we were last together. So Fael brings that up. She says, okay, since we're in a very chatty mood, everyone's spilling the beans and giving us the true stories. What's all this story about the wolves? So Perrin, of course, now has to reciprocate and gives her the whole truth about it as well. So he tells her about his connection with the wolves, about Elias meeting him and his senses and his hearing and his smell and his eyesight all improving and whatnot, and also about the wolf dreams and all of that stuff. And the most important part about the fear of him losing himself and becoming a wolf himself by letting go or embracing this power too much. And she's pretty cool with it. She's like, oh, rad. I'll just have to watch what I say now if you can hear me so well. Like, that's all she says. And he's like, aren't you more worried about this? Like, this is like some heavy shit. And she's like, no, she's pretty cool with it. She loves him. And she loves him as the way he is, wolfy or no wolfy. I think she's more on the beefy side of things. She prefers that, the beefy boy. And she thinks actually that her parents would approve, because her dad is saying, like, the bloodline is beginning real weak, and Perrin is nothing anywhere near weak. And her mother always wanted her to marry a king, so she started asking him, like, could we tell her that you're the king of the wolves? It's like, she's not going to know. So it's like, this is perfect. This is perfect for me. My parents are going to love you. You'll be all right. Don't worry about it. So he's like, oh, I'm super thirsty. So she goes, all right. So she gives him a drink of water. The drink is what Isla had left there with some hectic medicine in it. Knocked him out completely. And before he realizes it, she's drugged him with this drink. And he falls asleep, hearing her whisper to him, sleep, my Perrin. Sleep, my wolf king. And that's how the chapter ends.
Oh.
All right. Her foot soldier's name is Erin. The Erin.
Brockovich.
Erin. No, not E-R. E-R-A-N.
Cool.
Rad. Glad we sorted that out. I could sleep.
Do we ever hear from him again or about him? don't think so. Hey, like it's not like there's anyone, because I mean we were exposed to Davrin Bashir quite a lot later.
Yes.
And he brings Saldaeans with him, even other Saldaean nobles, right? Like when the Saldaean throne is sort of up in the air and they're jockeying for position to make a claim for the throne. There's a lot of Saldaeans in the middle of Randland, like just camped out
Yes.
somewhere.
Didn't they come looking for her? Isn't that what her father?
That was part of it, I think, and Rand, I think,
And
because at
the
that
whole
stage,
Dragon Reborn thing.
that's coincidental. All the nobles are they looking for, but I think some of them were pushing for her to stake a claim.
We have to put a pin in that.
The Aiel do not want to hang out with the Tinkers, hey?
No,
And now,
thanks.
after our sort of deep dive not too long ago, it is making a little bit more sense to me. I always thought it was just because they're sort of sensitive about their past and they don't want to be reminded that they, come from this sort of weak position where they were victimized and that sort of thing. But now I'm thinking it's more the guys that split off and became the Tinkers are the ones that left the wagons and the Terangriel and the sacred quest given to Chan and his descendants by the Aes Sedai. And they just said, why are we carting all this stuff around? This quest is nothing. We still follow the way of the leaf. And then whoever it was, Chan's descendant, it was like, you are no longer Aiel. And they're like, no, we are still Aiel because we still follow the way of the leaf. We're just not going to go on this fool's errand. We're going to travel around. We're going to go look for the song and we're going to get things back to the way it was. So it's more the sense of abandonment from the Tinkers than the shame of their sort of pacifist past.
Yeah, well, of course, Gaul and all of them, they don't know that. But I think
No,
that's
but
just
the
passed
sentiment,
down from passed down from generation. Those guys, you stay away from them. They are.
We don't mix with those guys. Fine, they can travel here. They're the only wetlanders that we let in here, other than peddlers. But we don't talk to them. Fuck
As
those
Aiel
guys.
kids,
Fuck those
they
guys.
grew up to the stories that if you're a lazy layabout, you will become a tinker. Like you're going to become Tuathan. Like just pull up your socks, pick up your cadence saw, pick up that buckler, move a little faster, run on that legs. Otherwise, you're going to become Tuathan. You have no top.
I'm wondering as well about the bloodlines of the Tinkers, because no one mentions their height, no one mentions their hair color, so they don't stand out as being Aiel. And I'm wondering if over the years they've just blended with people that have joined them and crossbred, and now this is like a.
I mean, they're actively recruiting, right? Like they are trying to get people to follow the way of the leaf and to come along with them. So it has probably been quite diluted.
Hey, you'll see now in the chapter that we go, the guys get pretty loose that night with the music. So there's nothing stopping that girls from carrying the next generation of passerbys influence.
Yeah, I suppose so. Eh? Like inbreeding is a huge danger for them because they're such small groups.
Yeah. So why do you think they like, come on, camp over?
Yeah,
girls are going to get
you should stay the night.
Get dancing. They're going to do their
come check out this dance.
Check out this dance.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Just something I'd never thought of before.
I was sort of laughing at Isla blowing up Perrin's spot. Telling Fael about him always being in the company of a beautiful woman. There was also a sort of a nice moment from Ivan, which is not really characteristic. Where he says to Perrin, anyone can be surprised. Learn from it, but do not take it too much to heart. Not even Arthur Hawkwing won every battle.
Yeah.
Nice thing to say to Perrin.
Yeah. It's Tavira nature working on him. Like, he can't help it.
I guess that's true. Oh, God, that's so cynical. Here I was thinking Ivan has a heart. Nope. It's Perrin. And I also I really just enjoyed the fact that Perrin came clean about all his wolf powers and all that stuff to Fael. That's like a massive load off his mind.
And Fael coming clean to him as well. Like I enjoyed this. Like finally, that's out in the open. Like that stupid feud they had is over. The truth is out.
Yes. Their relationship is becoming a lot more substantial now and honest because as three husbands and people that have been in multiple relationships, trust is huge. You can't just go into a relationship and withhold something so critical and expect everything to be hunky-dory. We've already seen like elements of distrust and that sort of thing, and now this coming clean really gives them a solid foundation to build. And I mean, there's more of their relationship building in this stretch of chapters as well.
Yeah, that's for me as well. The standout of this chapter is just that honesty that they have with each other, and also sleep, my wolf king.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything else from you, Vil?
Nah, it's Jody said it all.
He even said parts of your chapter.
Yeah, even that. He even went above and beyond.
Okay, then. Well, in that case, let's move on to chapter 42 called A Missing Leaf. Take it away, Villy.
Oh, right. Missing leaf, as in a leaf that falls from a tree. Now, Perrin is.
Thanks for clearing that up, Billy.
Sure.
I was like, leaf?
Oh,
what could he
leaf.
mean?
Oh, cool.
All right. Perrin has been drugged. He's been given a concature of opioids, and he is fast asleep. And he's in his dream, and Perrin is now very adept in being in the wolf dream. And with a skip and a jump, he finds his way all through the Westwood and all through the lands, which he's now gotten used to being able to move so quickly. And he does a general surveying the farms, the area, and to the area where he first met Slayer. So he's kind of not thinking it, but he's hunting Slayer already in his dream. Gets to the area of Manithrin, where they came through the Waygate, and then sort of looks and then takes second take, like, whoa, the Avinda Sora leaf is not in its place. And next minute he's right next to the Waygate, and the Waygate's open, silver and shimmering, and he even puts his hand through it to kind of feel, which I can imagine sort of on the other side of the Waygate, and finds the leaf there. And it starts closing, and he turns around and sort of jumps out of the way. The next minute, something streaks black right where his chest was. An arrow has been fired at him. So,
just one sec. I don't think Perrin is actually able to put his hand through the shimmer.
No.
I think it's like a mirror. It's a hard surface. He actually can't put his hand in.
Right. How did I read it then? Okay. Go with that. But
there's a leaf spot outside as well, where he noticed it's missing from.
Yeah. Okay. So it was on the outside, not on the inside. But needless to say, someone is right at this moment busy going either into the ways or out of the ways. And this is not supposed to be. And he's quite panicked about it. And at the right moment, he steps out of the way, and the arrow goes where his chest was. And he immediately jumps in his leaping bound, saying, like, this is where the arrow is going to come from. And he almost makes the same mistake twice. He bolts there and realizes, like, no, Perrin, don't make the same mistake again. Take a different route. And he flanks Slayer and finds himself on a position higher and looks down, and there he is. And he's in his Borderlands garb. And he's like, this is Lan's brother. It is so uncanny. But he knows Lan doesn't have any living kin.
Yeah. I like the multiple layers of planning that Perrin has to go through quite quickly there, because he has to double back to a spot where he can see a spot that looks like a good vantage point to view the area where the arrow came from, shot at where he was originally. So there's 4 different spots in that equation, and he went from the very front one to the very back. So Slayer fired an arrow and then jumped back to find a spot where he can monitor where he was, where he fired the arrow from. And Perrin goes double back to find a spot where you can look at the spot that would view the spot where the arrow came from. Spotception.
I'm so bummed I missed out on that. Too slow.
But now Perrin he's got the upper ground. He's got an arrow drawn. He's got Slay still thinking like, okay, this is a difficult shot, but he's taken so by the fact that, who is this guy? He looks like he could be Malkiri, but Lan is the last Malkiri.
Mm-hmm.
And boom, he streaks away in his flash aha running moment. And Perrin decides to give chase, and they head east towards the westwood. And Perrin stops, and there's he can't see him, but he knows it's there. Something is there. And the next minute, he starts hearing him say, like, golden eyes. Like, it was a clever trick, that closing the way gate. Very clever trick of yours, but that's now undone, type of thing.
Mm.
And a lot of trollocs and fades died. Mush and Shin had a feast inside there. It's like,
Hooray!
oh, hurrah, my tummy's
I
real
also
full.
There was
enjoyed
much
that bit of
rejoicing.
news.
Me too.
Yes.
But it's undone now. It's open, and they're coming. And Perrin thinks, like, shit, like, he's trying to lure me out with the stalk. And he does the right thing. Again, sensible thinking is like, wake out of the dream. But Perrin is so drugged up that he can't really wake out of the dream, so he's just back at the Tinker's Cavern having a party. And
Mm-hmm.
probably more a fever dream, and hearing the true party happening outside the windows of his caravan where he's sleeping. Which takes us then to the next morning. Next morning, it's Tinker breakfast time. Mashed veggies, vegan style. Veggie pop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they say pop. Did you notice that?
They did say pop.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Perrin isn't really keen on eating, but the minute he wakes up, she slept, didn't even sleep. She sat all night over there. But I mean, who could sleep with that hoedown kicking off outside around the fires? Now, Perrin then gets up. They get ready. Sort of people already getting horses mounted. They're going to move off to Emond's Field. And Perrin has a last-ditch attempt with Rain before they do the formal greeting to, like, hey, don't you want to bring the people? And that's where Rain turns around Jody and asks all the people if they want to come and go. Perrin has invited us to their village because there's a lot of trollocs about. And at the mention of a village, the kids run to their moms and sort of hide under their dress. Like, oh, mommy, no, it's like, no village. We don't want to go. There's evil men there. So Perrin just says, like, look, just be careful, be safe. And you're like, look, we're going to move all day. And we'll just stay one night at a time and keep moving. So the way that's kept us safe all this time. And they do their formal goodbyes. May you always find shade. Oh, no, I mean, may you always have campfires that warm you. The other one. Now, when they leave, the Aiel decide, all right, cool, we can join up with our traveling party now. But before we go to leaving, all the boys had a good night. Will is still kissing woman goodbye. Not one, several.
Yeah, doesn't he have like two women on, like one woman under each
One
arm?
on each
or
arm,
something?
yeah.
They've all got a spring in their step that morning. There
sure
was leg overhead for sure by some of them, no doubt.
Some of them are still coming down.
Yeah, some more new Tinkers are on the way. New generation.
With some Manetherin blood.
Ooh.
That's a odd combination.
It really is.
A willful to
stubbornly pacifist.
Stubbornly pacifist.
Yeah.
Oh man. But yes, they get moving. Ghoul, Bane and Shai joins up, and Parents is like, hey, how was your night last night? Like, not as eventful as Will's, I suppose. Did you end up playing Maiden's Kiss? And Ghoul is not pleased. Like, who said that? Like, who? It's like, no, Chide. He's like, she's Goshin. Like, this is unacceptable. Like, and has an absolute, like, little
apoplexy.
Apoplexy. That's great.
I think the words are he nearly falls over.
Yeah.
Like, he is so taken aback.
Completely taken aback. And he's so sensitive about it. Like, it's like dark-minded woman, and just doesn't know what to say, stumbling over his own words, and eventually walks off and joins the maidens and just walks with them rather. So what do you think happened there that night?
I don't think anything happened. but
But
I
he's
think he's
thinking.
realizing. He's realizing because he's also
He's
got eyes
realized
on
he's
them.
falling. Mm.
Yeah, and he's like,
Bane and
"Ooh."
Child, is it in this stretch, or I mean, fuck, I don't know. It's around about this time, either in our last episode or in this stretch. They also make a comment about Gaul, and I don't know if it was directly about being Maiden's Kiss, but it was not disparaging. It was more like, okay, maybe we'll just, pull him this way and entice him into a game of Maiden's Kiss or something like that, where they've always previously just been like, you're an idiot and stone dogs are idiots.
Yeah.
Men are idiots generally, and like been very, very down on him. They make a comment that is a little less condescending and more provocative, shall I say.
No, those two have now started setting their eyes on him.
I always think of Bane and Chiad as like a unit, right? Like I
They
don't
are.
have a very and I don't have a very clear in every way. I don't have a clear idea of like what each one specifically looks like. And I'll be honest, I don't remember. I think it's Chiad, right? Is the one that Gaul actually falls in love with originally.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's
And I think
mortal
Bane
enemy.
is the other one. Yes,
That's why he's happy to hear that it was Chiad who suggested, because he said, "Hey, who suggested that the
he
Maiden's
asks
Kiss?"
exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like, Chiad.
And then he has
okay.
the whole reaction like, she's got shin. Like,
But she's got
no.
Yeah.
That'll be a problem,
Hopefully
but we'll overcome it.
But at this stage, it gets even better because he looks at Ivan. It's like, do you have any idea what's happened there? He's like, I'm fucked if I know, mate. Like, I don't know.
Is it Gaul or Ivan says that Madral are less cunning than women?
Oh, that's
that.
Gaul that says it. Like, women are more cunning than a Madral.
Yeah.
And then he's like, he's not going to go and kill her right now to fail. Like, this
no one
okay
knows.
there.
Yeah.
She's like,
Could be anything.
Do we need to step in here or no?
Do we just let them be? They haven't killed each other to this point, so it's all good.
Quick temperature check of the room. Do you guys think in a fight, Chiad or Gaul? Bane Chiad, interchangeable. One of the maidens versus Gaul. Who do you think actually wins? Because they make it like, I mean, at least from the talk, and take this from whence it comes, but the maidens talk a big game, eh? Like they're not put off by their like male potential opponents. They will.
It's 2-1 against 1, so
yeah, I'm gonna have to go because Chiad wouldn't do it alone. Bane would be in there for sure. They would work as a unit, Moritz.
They would, I guess.
Your question is fundamentally flawed. There would never be just one of them.
It would never happen.
That's 2 against 1. I'm going with the maidens.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy one.
Even if Gaul is clan chief material, I don't think that's going to save his butt.
No. But you never know what's going to happen in the future. Oh, we do know. We've read the books.
We don't remember.
We know exactly.
Okay, but now Perrin and them are on the move. Eventually they hit the old road and they come to a very different Emond's Field. This Emond's Field has got no more trees left. 500 paces on the outskirts. The boys have gone to town with axes and they've cleared and made fortifications. They've been putting in spikes. They have been working. And as Perrin rides into Emond's Field, it's like the murmurs of, it's Perrin Golden Eyes. It's Perrin Golden Eyes.
Yeah.
Like he has whipped up an entire nation almost. Like he is now the thing of the law.
Just feels like that. It's one town.
One town.
Let's throw you the benefit of the doubt. A couple towns. Watch Hill, Devon Ride. Maybe
Devon
some
Ride.
Tarrant Ferry.
Yeah, but all of them, the Coplans, the Congas, all of them are on board. Even Sen Bowie is on board. Like cynical Sen, he's on board.
It's a kid on 2 shoulders or something.
Yeah, to see Perrin Golden Eyes. Obviously, Sen's like dropping names. They're like, I know that kid, man. I reprimanded him plenty of times as a youngster. He's as good as he is because of me.
Yeah, we go way back.
Now, the Aes Sedai are fully open in as Aes Sedai. Perrin notices. Verin is there to sort of meet him. She realizes, whoa, these guys are looking a bit worse for wear, bandaged up. And Perrin is not in a good state at this stage. He falls out of the saddle and someone catches him. but a bunch of the men carry him into the inn, Wine Spring Inn that is, and gets set down, and Perrin walks in. It's like, look, wait for Allana. This is beyond me. This is too much healing. I'm just a brown sister. I can help all these lonely folks with their light cuts and bruises. As for the rest of them, get Daisy Conga to make them some herbs and spices. They can deal with it normal way. There's battle coming, so we got to
Herbs
also be
and
realistic.
spices.
Someone's having Kentucky for dinner. That'll fix you.
Couple
11.
nuggets.
11 of them. So the chapter stealing continues. Well done, Billy. I see you wanted to join the party too.
Wait, what? Oh, sorry. Did I go past where I'm at from?
You did. My chapter starts with him being outside the inn.
Oh, damn. I did.
No, it's cool.
It's I've been thieving. But yeah, that's it. Perrin is blown away at the Two Rivers. The Two Rivers has now got planning, fortification. They've taken this shit serious. They're taking a stand. Trollocs and White Cloaks, doesn't matter. Manetherin, the blood runs deep.
Yes.
Just as you were reading that, Vil, I was wondering, like, they make a lot of stakes and stuff, right? I mean, we read about the fortifications now, and they seem to have cleared a lot of trees. What are they doing with all the extra lumber? Like, do they ever mention building like palisades?
I think there's
or what do you
more
call
buildings being built.
Yeah.
There's because they've got all the animals
Catapults.
inside catapults being built. The
maybe even temporary housing.
Yeah, where are those people going to sleep? All the extra people, yeah.
The other warder, not Ivan, it's Thomas. Says after he was so easy to, he just explained the carpenters how to build the catapult, and they just took it on. Like, easy done.
Of course they did.
Built the catapult, so yeah, man.
Little known secret, everyone in the Two Rivers is a hero. Like, you take any of them out there on an adventure and they'll turn out to be a hero.
Yes, the whole town is Taviran.
Yeah, so great. I love it.
Yeah, I think they use a lot of that wood on the stakes, because there's a lot of stakes. It's a big town now. It circles the whole town. But yeah, they have to build lodging for all the extra people. Some catapults, definitely. Firewood. Don't worry about it, Moritz. They're going to use those trees for something.
Okay, good. Just trying to be practical, efficient.
So, you know what, Moritz? Not even kidding. I thought the same thing. Like, where are all the trees? Like, what have they done with the timber? Are they're just using it because, I mean, there's 500 bases of forest in a big radius. So it's a lot of trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like 17.4 miles squared, roundabout, I think.
Okay.
I don't believe you.
I did the maths.
What's the formula for the area in a circle?
I can't. You wouldn't understand it. Don't worry about it.
Of course I would.
It's very complicated. You carry the x. You put the x next to where the equals, and then squared. Equals.
Isn't it pi square radius?
This is how we end up with 3-hour episodes.
Pi square radius.
Jump it all out.
Put a pen in that. 2 pi r? Yeah.
The
Pi square
what?
radius.
The area of a circle.
Mm.
So, in Perrin's dream, where he's zipping around, he goes a bit south to Devon Ride to see like what the farms look like. Do they look abandoned or not? I was just wondering, like, who's taking the messages south to Devon Ride? Because they've got, obviously, when Perrin was going up north towards Watch Hill, where the White Cloak encampment was, that's when he was telling a bunch of farms and stuff. But Devon Ride is, somewhere south again. So they must actively be sending people to go round up villages. Do we ever find out, like, was Fail put in charge of that? I mean, she was sort of welcoming some people, back into Emonsfield before she met up with Perrin again out in the wild.
The power of a strong Taviran is of such a force that no one needs to be told to do it. They do it out of the impulse. No, they
maybe.
Come on. Perrin had started this all through one conversation on one farm with 3 families.
Yeah, true. Now, my next thought in that line of thinking, sorry, I had not quite reached my destination yet, is would it not have been better for them to fortify Devon Ride with the White River at their back? Because Emonsfield, I guess it's got the mire on the one side, which blocks off one one avenue of attack, and I guess the westward would be difficult to move an army through. But I just always feel like Emond's Field is kind of exposed, that you can come at it from just about any angle. But I guess the Maya does sort of cut off one angle. It's the reason it's so remote, right? Why taxmen don't go there.
Yeah, if a taxman can't get there, then trollocs definitely
Then
can't.
nobody can. What else?
I have something to put in there.
Oh, please do.
Yes, I just need to clarify the pup comment because non-South Africans wouldn't get that, but it stood out to all three of us in the books that in the morning the Tinkers served them pup, like PAP, which in South Africa is a very typical maize meal dish, like cooked maize meal. You can either have it stiff cooked with a little bit of water for dinner, or you have it like more runny for breakfast. It's a staple there. If you watched any of those ads about save the children in Africa, they're always feeding them this white slop. That's pup.
That's it.
Delicious.
It's still a staple for me. Yeah, I have it all the time.
I have it in my cupboard right now.
I thought it was interesting that Slayer addresses Perrin as Golden Eyes. He knows what his name is.
Mm-hmm.
He might not be wanting to give away that he knows what his name is, but Golden Eyes is still close enough to home, for Perrin to go, oh, well, this guy is also calling me Golden Eyes. My villagers are calling me Golden Eyes. Well, who else would be? But, you can probably explain it away by, if Slayer saw that he had Golden Eyes, that's maybe why he's calling him that. Okay, so I'm just like not red flags or alarms, but I was just like, okay, cool, that's something to consider. But it's also in this interaction where Slayer tells Perrin that originally they only brought through a couple trollocs, a couple hundred trollocs to keep the White Cloaks off balance so that he can kill the renegade.
Yes.
And that man has the White Tower's own luck.
Yeah.
I would not describe Paden Fane as a lucky man. Maybe in avoiding death, but geez, that guy has had a rough go. And it was also interesting that he all our heroes and our friends, they always refer to the Dark One's own luck. Slayer says the White Tower's luck, on the flip side of the coin.
Yeah,
which
like
is
the bad guys talk like that. What's the vernacular they use and all the expressions they have?
Yeah, it was a cool phrasing when I think it was it the door frame of the wagon or something. Ivan was standing against the line is Ivan stood leaning against the door frame like a dark blade.
Yes,
that was good. And immediately I saw Wesley Snipes in Black Leader.
And he said some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Ban Alcine must have a huge nose because
does.
Perrin cannot stop talking about it.
It's like
as if it's an entity of its own. Like Ban and his nose managed to hook up with a girl or something.
Bane and Triad and Ban and his nose, they go together.
Yes.
Didn't all the girls kiss him on the nose when he left?
I don't know if it was on the nose, but he got some kisses.
Yeah, like it's impossible to kiss him without touching his nose. Apparently, like this contact is gonna be made.
When they're riding off again, and the Two Rivers men start singing, just sort of their spirits are lifted again and stuff. I was so stoked again with Ivan. Like he joins the singing, and so does Fail. Like they all join, but for a warder to be singing along with these guys is quite an accomplishment. Like, well done, boys! You've cracked this warder's stony heart.
Lan is a stone-hearted warder. Doesn't mean that all warders are like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
not necessarily, but all evidence points to them being pretty stony.
Yeah, it's stonier
this
than
seems
most.
Different.
Stonier than most, yes, but not as stoned as the Tinkers.
Shall we roll on?
We should.
Mm-hmm.
Okay then, chapter 43 is called Care for the Living. Why don't you tell us about that, Jody?
Yes, once again, the beginning of my chapter has been spoilt, but here we are. Verin leads Perrin. Verin and Perrin. That's a nice little teaming.
Verin and Perrin the Tavern.
Yeah. Jeez. What was I talking about? Yes, Verin and Perrin leading them back to the White Spring.
Billy's holding it in. Just
3
barely.
hours later. We broke him again. I'll just wait, shall I?
It's probably not the wine, hey, Joe.
No. That bottle of red wine is almost done.
Wow, I'm sweating now. It's so hot.
Mm-hmm. Verin leads Perrin because now there's a lot of as they're walking through the crowds of people. Okay, the red wine bottle's only less than halfway. Leading them through the crowd with all the returning soldiers who feel very proud. They're also freaking out. All the young men are freaking out about how the town looks and all the fortifications and all the people and all that kind of stuff. And the parents are coming in and the family members are coming in and they're seeing their sons return and running up to those that have returned. This is an important distinction to make. The families are greeting them. The children are crying like the younger brothers are happy to see their older brothers and things like that. And but he can hear the cries from the parents, especially the mothers, crying out for their sons that did not return. And some of them I shall name by name because they deserve to be named. Kenley, Billy, Hugh, Jared, Tim, Collie, Tevin, and Harold are some of the names that are called out. And as they are being called out, he can hear them. Perrin can hear them, and he gets more and more anxious, and he just wants to get inside the wine spring in as fast as possible to try and shut out those noises, because of course his massive guilt is crushing at him. So he can't take it anymore. And as they get to the door, he kind of falls out of the saddle there, where he's helped by Verin and Ivan, and he just begs / commands them to get him inside to cut off the noise as fast as possible, because the last thing he hears wailing through the door is Dale L. Tavon's mother crying for someone to tell her where her son is. And Perrin thinks to himself, in a trolloc cookpot, in a trolloc's belly, where I put him. And I was like, whoa, that's so hardcore, man.
Oh, Perrin.
Perrin.
He's so harsh on himself, man.
Yeah,
It's just,
he got cocky. I totally get it. Like, he had early successes in fighting the trollocs. Those first 2 bands or fists or whatever they were of trollocs that they came across, they didn't lose anyone. They didn't even sustain an injury. So he got cocky, and eventually his luck ran out. His severe nature.
His luck didn't run out. He was betrayed.
Yes, Luke.
So
his luck ran
Luke
out.
knew exactly what happened.
His Luke ran out.
Luke ran out on him.
Martin's on it today, eh? Really only gets it. It's sinking in everywhere. Perrin can't heal. I'm just going to go. Perrin can't heal the wound. She has a look at it and she's like, nope. Look, Isla couldn't heal it. I can't heal it. We're going to have to wait for Allana. Ivan's already gone to go get her, so don't worry about it. Ivan's on it. He's surprised at the common room. He looks around, and it's become like a command center, basically, for the entire town. Also weapons storage, because there are weapons everywhere. Halberds and spears. There's even a word called a bill. And I was like, a bill? And I had to find out. Because when we use the Kindle, you can just long press on the word and it'll, pop up the dictionary. It's like a halberd, but at the top it has a hooked blade instead of a spear or something. So basically the same thing, almost. So yeah, a whole bunch of weapons. There's even a barrel of old swords that are stacked in the corner. He's shocked to see like a whole barrel full of swords, mismatched, no more than 2 that actually have scabbards and things like that. But he thinks like they must have emptied out every attic and basement in a 5-mile radius to find all those swords. He didn't even know there were that many swords in this entire region, but apparently
all of them heron marks.
All of them dating back from Manetherin, like stuff that they've dug up in their fields, I suppose.
Yeah,
who knows
maybe,
where
actually.
From where that battleground was.
Actually, Joe, that's a very valid point. I mean, that was Emond's field is Amon's field. Like that's where major battles and many, many people died. So I mean, there would be like swords and the like.
Yeah.
in the ground.
After how many? It was Trolloc Wars, right? So it wasn't 3,000 years. It wasn't breaking. So it's about when was Trolloc Wars?
2000, I don't know.
Yeah.
1,000 years
Sufficient
ago.
amount of
A
time
very
for
long
those
time.
yes, for those swords to have disintegrated into nothing in the ground. So I suppose all of these swords must be power wrought, since there were Aes Sedai there. If these swords were from Manetheren, they're all power wrought. Yeah.
But then that'd be pristine. So let's
Mm.
shit can that theory.
Yes, thought about it, investigated, discarded, all in 2 minutes.
Hey,
So
the scientific method working for us right here.
There you go. Told you so. So Perrin refuses to go up to the bed to wait and go lie down. He's like, no. We I've got managing to do. I'm in charge here. So while they're waiting for Allana, he hangs out downstairs and he asks about Loyal. So he's out clearing trees and hating every minute of it because he is not stoked to be chopping down trees, obviously. But he sees the necessity of it, and Master Luhan has made him a massive axe with a long handle. And we see it later.
And he's incredibly efficient at felling trees as well. The cruel irony.
He's gigantic, and he has an advantage over the rest. They say like for every tree they can fell, he does 3. So even though he hates it, he's good at it. And someone has, of course, already run off to go and tell him that Perrin is back. Luke isn't there. Lord Luke, that is. They think he's off hunting the Horn or trollocs. Ha! Wrong. He's not hunting the trollocs. He's helping the trollocs. He has also been teaching the boys, or the young men, I suppose, how to use the sword. So he is helping out. But he has also been telling people he's a king. They also talk about it like, oh, he's a king probably of Andor or something. That's what I heard. Like all these rumors spreading around, and Perrin's like, Andor doesn't have kings, buddy. Like I'm a worldly man now. Listen to me, child. Yeah.
He's not even trying, but like he does come across that way in all these little things that we've mentioned, knowing like how to talk to the Tinkers and knowing that Andor only has queens. Like Perrin has learned stuff, and the villagers are quite right to sort of look at him and go, "Oh shit, yeah, you are a man of the world."
He is. I mean, he's been gone about a year now, I think, in the timeline. I'll put my foot in it there, I suppose. Yeah, so he's come back. He's learned a lot. He's been up to the Blight, because he tells them stories about it. He's been to the Blight. He's been to the Borderlands. He's been to Tyr. He's been north to south and like the entire continent. He's been to Falme, but he can't tell them that because that's going to lead to some questions he doesn't want to answer.
Tarvalon.
Yeah, Tarvalon. Yeah, shit. Where hasn't he been?
Camelin.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's been everywhere.
He's been to Tarvalon. God, fuck, no, I can't remember.
No, Perrin wasn't at Tarvalon.
No, he wasn't. That's right.
No, Varen and the girls took Matt there.
All right. Okay, so he hasn't been to Tarvalon.
No.
Yeah.
He's not so worldly.
Yeah.
Take it down a peg, Perrin.
Yeah, jeez. Lord Luke has also been antagonizing. So while he's been helping to some degree and also ambushing people with thousands of trollocs, he has also been antagonizing the White Cloaks. Apparently, he just rode up to, without permission or informing anybody, rode up to their camp and told them they are now banned from the Two Rivers and not allowed to enter Emond's Field anymore. Even Varen's a bit pissed off about this. He's just like, everyone hates the White Cloaks. I get it. I hate them too. But unnecessarily antagonizing them is not a smart move. So they're not particularly happy with him, but nobody sees him as a real threat, which is a big mistake.
It's pity. Yeah.
So, yeah, because Perrin does see him as a threat, and Perrin is convinced that he had something to do with the trollocs, which is why he's asking all these questions. He wants to know where Luke was, what were his whereabouts, to see if he was involved somehow with that ambush. But it would appear that he does have an alibi because he was in Emond's Field on the day of the attack, so he couldn't have been by the trollocs, not knowing, of course, that he can also
jump.
He can be anywhere he wants at any time. So, yeah, apparently, he didn't quite latch onto that Golden Eyes reference from Isom quite yet. Apparently, Luke's bad attitude is also wiped off on the Congers and the Coplans. In brackets, surprise, surprise. These people that sided with the White Cloaks originally now have gone as far as to also antagonize the White Cloaks. They ride out in force and give them crap, and, it's just
ridiculous.
Don't do it, guys. Causing more shit than they should be. There are still a handful of young Two Rivers men that are actually still in the common room with Perrin, who entered with him. Not the guys that came with him, but people that were in the town. So they have a lot of questions that we talked about now, about talking about like Camelin and all their adventures that they had, and they're so jealous. And Perrin's like, jealous? It's hell out there. Like literally, I'm lucky to be alive. Like it's not this grand adventure that you're thinking it is.
Sleep
And they are
cold,
sleep
hungry.
cold. You're always hungry,
Mm-hmm.
always cold. You never have a place to sleep. And they like kind of don't believe him. They're like, yeah, whatever, bro. You've been to Camelin. You've met queens. Like, what's a city
Mm-hmm.
like? Did you see a palace? Did you meet a queen? What's the White Tower like? And Perrin has to like choose his answers carefully, as to not give away too much sensitive information, especially in front of the Aes Sedai, because Perrin is in the room as well. So he doesn't mention Felme. He doesn't mention the Eye of the World or any of the Forsaken or Kalandor, which would directly link to the Dragon Reborn, and that's going to make too many questions. So, but he does tell them a bit about Camelin and about Tyr and the Borderlands, and yeah, of course, again, like that, adventures are not everything they're cracked up to be. And they ask him why Matt and Rand didn't come home. Like, if adventuring is so shit, why are you the only one to come back? So he tells him again about like, oh no, Rand's got a pretty blonde girl on his arm, and like the same stories. He has to keep to the same stories he told Tam and Abel, because since he's been talking, they have actually also entered. So he sees them and he just tries to match the same story, which we already know about. The questioning, of course, turns because he decides he's not going to tell them that Elaine is daughter heir, because they'd never believe that. No. So he tells them that she's a lady, and they're like, Fail's a lady too, and she seems to be hanging on every word and doting all over you. And suddenly Fail is like, okay, that's enough questions. Everybody get the fuck out. And kicks all the young people out of the room. Lord Perrin needs his rest. Off you go. And they are all awkward little bows and everything. Because like, oh, like a lady of that. And true that. I mean, she's royalty now, as Perrin has now found out. And as they're filing out the door, Loyal comes back. He sees Perrin. He's like, shit, no one told me that you were injured. I would have come back quicker if I'd known, but what would you have done? What difference it would have made at all? But he's got that massive axe with him, and that's where Perrin's like, holy shit, look at the size of that thing. And he thinks about that expression that the Ogier have, to put a long handle on your axe, meaning you're angry. And this is the axe that Loyal does use in battle in the future, right? If my memory serves me, which it typically does not. Yeah.
Yes.
If not this one, something similar. But I think if it's made by Master Luhan, it'll last. It'll be there at Tarman Gaidon, and beyond. Someone else will dig it up from a field in 3,000 years. So during this whole conversation, Perrin keeps on feeling like he's getting very, very hot. Like it's, somebody put out the fire, and he keeps wiping his forehead, thinking, like I must be sweating my butt off out here, but there's no sweat, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. I mean, obviously, infection is setting in from the arrow wound in his side. Perrin then, of course, tells Loyal about the Waygate, that it's open, and Ivan goes, "Oh, is it Thomas? I don't remember. Is Ivan back? Shit." Regardless, one of the warders goes like, oh, so that's there are more trollocs coming. He just accepts it immediately, doesn't know how Perrin knows, and doesn't question it. He just accepts Perrin's word.
Probably Thomas, since Varen is the one that's with Perrin now.
Yes.
Is it Ivan that's gone to go find Allana to come perform the healing?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Allana is in the room in like a couple of minutes, so he may be back already. I don't recall. But anyway, one of them. So I thought it was interesting that they just believe what he says. Like they just take him for his word, not even asking him how he knows, because obviously he found out in the wolf dream. Loyal, of course, thinks it's his fault for not being able to bring himself to destroy a waygate or disable it, because they're pretty much impossible to destroy. He goes on a little history lesson there, gets on a little sidetracked. He should be on the podcast. He should come, and we'll have him on next week for a 4-hour podcast. And tells them a story about how
we've made that joke before.
Yeah, and I will keep making it.
Very well.
Okay. So, yeah, he gives them a little speech about how it's impossible to destroy one, but if you do take out both of the leaves and don't put them on the outside like he did, and actually take them off completely, the Waygate dies. It doesn't destroy it, but it won't be able to, like he says, maybe an Aes Sedai will be able to cut through it to be able to use the ways, but you'll have to get an elder with the talisman of, wait, I've got it written down here. Growing. Yeah, so an elder would be able to come out and fix it to get it back to what it was. And he just doesn't want to destroy a Waygate. Even though they're so corrupted, it's too much for him. So he feels the need, like, okay, right, I'm going to leave right now and I'm going to fix it. But Perrin's like, no, you can't go by yourself into this army of thousands of trollocs to go and seal the way gate. Like, you're staying right here, buddy. Perrin's really burning up right now. This is where things are getting out of hand. But luckily, just then, Allana arrives. She uses the power to delve him, and she's like, "Whoa, this is bad." Luckily, I came right now because a few minutes more, we might have been in serious trouble. And this is where Perrin just kind of like passes out, becomes completely delirious, doesn't know what's happening. Loyal scoops him up. Luckily, he's there to pick up this beefy boy, cradles him like a baby, and carries him. They take him into the kitchen and put him on the kitchen table. To continue, because there's no way to get him anywhere else. She needs to operate pronto. Stat. And, Perrin's muttering things. Mistress Luhan is there as well, and he's telling her stories like, yes, my mom said it's okay for me to become your apprentice and all things like that. And everybody's, he's completely out of it by this point. They put a leather wrapped stick in his mouth, and he notices that everybody is holding him down. His legs, his shoulders. Loyal is holding him down. Like, whoa. Like, and Fael mentions to him, like, bite down on this. This is going to hurt. And Allana gets to work removing the arrow. What she has to do is kind of make it worse, because the arrow is barbed and it's hooked on his ribs. So she has to rip that out or cut it out or whatever that she does, which is going to make it worse, and then just like heal everything afterwards completely.
Yeah.
And the last thing he hears before passing out is the sound of the stick snapping in half in his mouth. And that's how we leave him.
Yeah. Those wolf jaws just
field medicine.
Crushing that thing.
Yeah.
Heavy.
He'll be all right. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah, he'll be back in the next book. Oh, wait, no.
He actually did die, yeah.
I once had a small arrow stuck in me. And by small arrow, I mean a 3-centimeter splinter that got infected and that the doctor had to cut open and take out. And that pain was some of the worst pain I felt, obviously, with the infection that started around the splinter. Now, imagine having a small spear stuck in you, lodged in your rib, made by the dirty hands of a trolloc. That's a pretty festering, messy
barbed
wound.
The worst pain I've ever felt was also a doctor cleaning out an infected cut on my foot, and he had to first inject me again in the cut and then clean it out, like scrape out everything in it and then clean it up. He couldn't even give me stitches because it was so infected. He said your foot would just swell up like a balloon.
We won't tell the listeners how you got that cut the night before.
No, that's a story for another day.
All the write-ins this week are going to be, tell us the story of the cut. Callback schmallbacks.
I thought it was cool that Varen leads Perrin to the wine spring inn herself, like for the villagers to see, like the Aes Sedai is helping him and sort of like taking this, because that's like a stable hand sort of job, right? Like leading the horse over there. But Varen does it herself. But other than that, this was a pretty straightforward chapter. Hey, like I had 2 notes. Cool that Varen leads him there, and Perrin snapping the stick is like, in my mind, at least somewhat related to him having like the jaw strength of a wolf or something, something fanciful like that.
Not only his eyesight and his hearing, but his jaw strength has increased as well.
Yes. I mean, he is beefy. He's a strong man, but his jaw especially. And he puts it to use at some point. So
he's beefy and he's wolfy. Well, I want to make a shout out to Ewan, who's there, who is now grown up and has got a sword strapped on his side. Mm-hmm. How did you miss that, Joe?
I didn't miss it. I read about it, but I never clicked who he was until right this very second.
Ewan is now a young man, sword on the side, but still
deep voice.
Like deep voice. Deep-ish. It's still busy breaking. Like sometimes it goes like...
Didn't Perrin say like this, like the voice like put him off? It's like, whoa, like how is that little kid speaking with a voice like this? I wonder if he still got his coin from Moraine.
Probably.
They probably spent it on the sword. There's a point where when he's asking questions, when they're all asking questions, I think this is what Billy's referring to, that his voice kind of gets squeaky with excitement. So he's not quite a full-grown man.
He's not quite there yet. He's still in the transitioning phase.
Because he
I'm
was
still
younger
in the
than them.
transitioning phase. My voice goes squeaky, and I'm like 41 almost.
You young people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Anything else? Should we roll on?
Let's do it.
Then our last chapter for this episode is chapter 44, The Breaking Storm. Lay it on us, Will.
Sure. Chapter 44, The Breaking Storm. Now, we are not referring to a storm that Perrin causes that rains for 6 days in this case. But Perrin wakes up and he comes to and he smells the feather mattress that he's lying on and a feather pillow, and it's all too soft. And he kind of remembers and he puts his hand down to his wound, and all he can feel is healed skin, unbroken skin. So, okay, that's a good start, but he is incredibly tired. He's obviously been healed. He needs a lot of chickens. He needs a lot of food to come through all of this.
There is a goose roasting downstairs that he smells, so
he
it's cool.
Smells
And honey cakes.
And honey cakes,
Thanks for
of
stealing
course.
both my lines. Just there we go.
It's a twofer.
Yeah.
Yes, he's smelling honey cakes. Goose downstairs cooking. It's and as he starts sitting up, Fail jumps up. She's already changed and she's in a different divided riding skirt ensemble, but creased up and crinkled. She's been sitting in that chair all night. She's and to stop there. I love the commitment. I love her complete and utter commitment to Perrin. She will not leave his side. She won't leave him no matter what. Like that for me is just stand out. Well, he's now he's going to get up. He wants to know where's Loyal.
God, yeah.
But she's like, no, Loyal and Gol had left. And he's like, what? They left the two rivers? They just left? It's like, well, obviously they've gone to sort out this thing that you were whinging about. And he's like, no, I need to go and help them. They can't go alone. I need to be there. And she's like, no, Perrin, you need to be in bed. That's where you need to be. You need at least 2 or 3 days in bed. That's by Aes Sedai orders. But Perrin won't hear anything of it. He throws the Duna off him and realizes he's not even in his small clothes. He's in his birthday suit. But that doesn't stop him. He sees his clothes just lined up across the hall. He walks up there, gets his stuff, but he falls over to put on his boots onto the bed. He can't even stay up, but he puts his boots on, and Feyla's like, no, continuously trying to do the right thing, keep him in bed. And eventually he walks out to the door, and she's got him by the arm, trying to pull him back, and he's going to go forward, and they both blix him down the stairs.
Everyone knows what Blixen means now. Moving on.
Yep, it's moving on.
We've covered that.
She's lying on top of him at the bottom of the stairs in the common room of the inn, looking like they're two drunkards kissing out and making out on the floor.
Good morning, everyone.
Merrin walks in on them. It's like, ooh, she has a little blush. And okay, cool, this is not what it is, but he doesn't want to listen. And she's like, well, let me show you how you deal with Perrin. I've dealt with him since he was a young lad, and I know how to deal with him. But little does she know, he hears absolutely everything she says in their little secret discussion. And Perrin is not like anyone is going to. Eventually, Fael says to Merrin, like, just let him go. Just get the guys to saddle the horse. At least he can sit on the horse. And as this discussion is going, the cry of trolloc and attack comes from the outside. Perrin just wants his axe. Fael's got to show him, like, yes, your axe is clipped into you. She helps him out, gets him on a horse, and they ride out, but the commotion has calmed down. So some of the timbermen that's still busy clearing trees was surprised by Trolloc, or vice versa. They surprised the Trolloc, but the Trolloc just had a quick hack and slash and ran off, realizing he's outnumbered. Not very cunning on their own. It's obviously this one broke ranks, was maybe hungry, wanted to get some guts to eat, and they then get a little bit of healing. It's the old millman that got himself a wound there, and with that, Bane and Chide comes running out of the westward and straight up to Perrin's like, no. And the warders, they're coming. About 500 trollocs, 3 fades, 4 miles or something. And Perrin is like, okay, shit, I've got to. He can't even think straight. He's so exhausted. But at that time, Tam, Abel, everyone calls, you know what to do. This has all been worked out. They've played the scenario through. They've trained for this in Perrin's absence. They don't need Perrin now to swing an axe. He literally has to sit on his horse and watch. He's now general. But everyone
He's a
takes
symbol.
the lion. Now, we haven't discussed yet the wolf banner.
No, the banner.
Yeah,
The
we
banner
skipped over
has
that.
been raised. There's a red banner with is it a white wolf or black wolf head? I can't remember. White wolf, I think.
It's white and red.
White and red. And this is his men. He's got 200 archers lining up and young boys running out with arrows, sticking it in the ground. So they've got ample arrow supplies, all with Two River longbows. There are men with swords. They are manning the spikes. They are manning the catapult. The kids and the women run into the houses and shelters they would have built for them. And it's cool. Now we wait. And the wait does take a while, but eventually Perrin feels like he might double over and fall asleep in the saddle because he should really be in bed. And then trollocs break out of the westward at pace. Some of the boys get a little bit overeager and they shoot an arrow way too early, and Tam reprimands them properly. In war, you don't break rank. You listen. You wait. And Perrin was like, wow, that's a bit harsh, Tam. It's like, no, it's not. I think Val says, this is war. Everyone needs to do what they need to do. And Perrin notices Tam, looks at him and says, we'll fire at 300 yards. And he realized that Tam doesn't tell him, but Tam asks him, kind of like, Perrin's like, yes, 300, that's our bow's distance. So trollocs hitting 500, 400 yards. When they hit the 300, I can just hear Tam shouting, folly! And they loose the arrows, and all the arrows just hit home. The first round of trollocs just stumble over each other, and a second loose. And with the second loose, with the second volley, out comes the catapults. Now, Perrin had seen the Aes Sedai mingling and messing around with the boulders that go into the catapults. But as those boulders land between the fades and the trollocs, they explode like bombs. And Perrin's like, whoa, what if they dropped one of those moving? Like, that's pretty impressive. And these guys literally finish off the trollocs in the back, make it into the 100-yard before the spike rain. And now they are targets. They're not just shooting into the air. They're like, cool, I've got that one. Arrowmen, I've got that one. And they just start taking out these trollocs. And all of them had fallen. The last fade is got pin-cushioned with arrows, but he's wriggling like a wriggling worm on the floor. And it's like, the job is done. The attackers won. Some trollocs possibly turned around and said, I ain't having any of Nog's getting food somewhere else. And buggered back off. And File allows Perrin to at least ride out into the field now, the battlefield, and to see, but with the warder with him and saying, like, this is not right.
Good instincts.
This is really not right. It's too straightforward, too easy. What is happening? He's like, no, this was just a test. Probably have in reserve 1,000, not quite 10,000, but maybe they got 1,000, 2,000 trollocs in reserve, and they just testing. And at the same time, he points up, he says, look up there, there's a raven flying, not diving down for the carrion, but just keeping eyes on what has happened on the ground, and then
Who says
flies
this?
off.
Perrin.
No, not Perrin. It was Ivan or Thomas. I think it was Ivan.
Yeah, those two are getting they're getting mixed up in this chapter.
Yeah, but they they're not wrong. It's like this was a test of
Yeah.
their defenses. How good are their defenses? And this File is not happy with Perrin already being sort of on the edge of the westwood. She's like, get on back. But then they hear commotion on the other side of the village, and they all right there. To be continued.
Yeah, I mean, what a cool little like section for us to cover, right? It's all Perrin, all in
Mm.
the Two Rivers, like immediate after effects of, or the aftermath after their ambush failure, and then coming back to Emon's Field, and then saying, all right, well, we've gone out hunting trollocs long enough now. Let's go home. Let's go make a stand. And what I've sensed in these chapters is, I mean, from probably our previous 2 episodes as well, ever since Perrin arrived back in the Two Rivers, you get all these cool little inserts and comments and scenes and lines that are steadily building Perrin up to be this leader and this respected leader, right? Like Ivan sort of like mentoring him. Thomas in this chapter says, because Perrin says twice as many as that, and we'd have to fight them at the stakes, and twice as many as that, and they would have broken through into the village. And Thomas goes, "You've got a good natural eye," and Tam Althor sort of like acquiescing to Perrin's authority, and Senbui now also buying into Lord Perrin Golden Eyes and all that sort of stuff, and Fail and Varen saying, "Oh, you've got natural leadership capabilities." Like in this very short stretch, Perrin has gone from the sort of, I don't mean this disparagingly, but the sort of mopey blacksmith around the Stone of Tyr to coming home and turning into like the real figurehead leader and legitimate, pragmatic tactician and leader, really,
Mm.
just an effective leader of his hometown and the surrounding areas and stuff. And I love this evolution of Perrin, like his whole reluctant acceptance of, okay, fine, these people are going to start calling me Lord now. We haven't even hit that yet, right? Like
Yeah.
later when they try and like make him a pseudo nobleman by calling him Lord Perrin Golden Eyes, and he's, I'm no bloody lord, and we go through those motions a lot. And this bloody wolf-head banner, like, oh, I wish I could be rid of it, and if I had to throw it away, someone else will just have another one. And he's super reluctant to take on that role, but it is foisted on him, and he is incredibly good at it, and it's very satisfying to read.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the guys that deserve it don't generally want it. And it's the same for Rand, it's the same for Perrin, it's the same for Matt. And at the sort of at the same juncture of the story, they all are now stepping into this roles. Matt's got his memories, he's got his Ashadari, he's got his Foxhead medallion, and he's ready to take on his character arc. Rand has got the 2 dragons, which is sort of he's setting him on that path now. And Perrin has got his wolf banner now, Lord Golden Eyes.
Rand also has Kalandor and the immense amount of power that he can channel.
And the nation of
There's
the
that.
Aiel.
Yes. This must be like, I mean, I suspect this is what is making this book stand out for so many longtime fans as the pinnacle of the series, almost their favorite book. A lot of people quote it as being their favorite book because we do see this pretty dramatic change in all of our characters. Rand is also really taking charge. You don't see much of Rand in book 3. He's just on the run. He's still basically just a runaway recalcitrant 19-year-old, and now he's leading nations and the Aiel and making grand proclamations, wielding Kalandor, to strike fear in the hearts of his enemies. And Matt, okay, cool. Matt's still just keeping a low profile. He tries
a
to,
while.
yeah,
He's not quite ready.
but Perrin is also just stepping up. Egwene, not really reaching her potential yet. I like Nynaeve and Elaine's arc in this book as well. I mean, they really are. They're not as afraid as they were. Remember when they got given this quest in the White Tower? They're like, "Oh my God, what is this Emond thinking? We've barely been raised to accept, and we have to hunt down the whole Black Arger, like the 3 of us. What the fuck?" Now they're like, yeah, let's go to Tanchico. Let's put on some disguises and go put ourselves in danger and go look for these chicks and go, because I've got a bone to pick with them, like everyone is really, to borrow again from gaming language, like they're all leveling up at a pretty steady clip. It's awesome.
Yeah, Perrin, I mean, how far Perrin's come in, like 5-10 chapters? I mean, when he arrived, he was like, I'm coming to die. Now he's the Lord of the Two Rivers, like basically, like now he's in charge. Not only I'm not going to die, but I'm sorting everything out. Like,
yeah. No, wait, no. It's not me that's going to die. It's them that's going to die. I'm going to kill them.
He knew someone was going to die.
A couple of fades, a couple of 100 trollocs, a couple of 1,000 trollocs. Yep.
It's very typical in this book. Like, there's a lot of arms folded under breasts and braid tuggings. There's also a lot of fades being pin cushioned by arrows. That comes up a lot.
Thrashing about. I had a good chuckle at when Tam berates the guys for firing their arrows too soon. There's like a lot of like mumbling, like not standing still for that kind of talk after Tam. Like, I mean, they're facing trollocs and fades and stuff, but when Tam reprimands them, that like stubborn Two Rivers or Nether and Blood is like, I won't stand for being spoken to like that. That's not on, Tam. Like, guys, focus.
Yeah, like I don't give a shit about these shadow spawn that are attempting to murder and eat me, but I don't appreciate your tone.
It was comforting to hear. Who was it? It was one of the Aes Sedai, I think, that said that they wouldn't be moving vast numbers of trollocs through the ways because that many being in the ways would just draw mush and shin within minutes. So there is. Okay, the waygate is open, but there's a bit of a mush and shin, a black wind filter over the front of that door. You can't just pour the hordes of trollocs from the blasted lands
what
through
I assume
into the Two
happened is the trollocs did their normal sort of 50 at a time to keep it quiet, because mush and shin has got no boss. It's its own boss who wants to feed its skin with cracking bones and marrows. And they all got to the gates like, Nark don't know how to open. Nark. And then there was 100, and then there was 150, and then we're like,
yeah.
And then they got cleaned out, and then the next 50 came. 50, 100, 150, 200, and then again, cracking bones, suck the sweet.
Slayer divulges quite a lot of like losses and information to Perrin there.
He talks about Fane being the renegade, but he himself is a renegade in this whole thing as well.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just the Lord Luke ego coming through, like, I am renegade of the dark side. Like, you can't be here and be your renegade, wanting to take Fane out of a jealousy perspective.
He hasn't turned against the shadow though.
No,
He's
but that's what
I wanted to say. But
like, he's kind of independent. He's not like a Fade or a Dark Friend that's under strict orders. Commands. Yeah, he takes orders, but he's kind of autonomous. He's pretty free to move around and make decisions on his own, and he has orders that he what's the word I'm looking for? Fulfills, whatever.
I guess.
But that's what I was going to say. Something similar to what Vili pointed out there. Like, he's not completely just a slave to the Dark One.
And I think that's maybe the thing that he doesn't like about Fane. Fane has got the same thing. Fane also doesn't really answer.
Totally, yeah.
Fane he's turned against the Dark One.
Yeah.
He's his own entity.
When he commands trollocs and stuff, it's, out of fear, like not because of his authority handed down to him. Like, he's threatening them and cutting them with magic knives and using Mashadar in ways that have not been revealed to us yet.
No,
because he doesn't have the dagger.
He finds the Fade that commands a fist, and then spikes it through its eye area, and then says, "You see what I did to your Fade? Now come, we going." Yeah.
And I mean, he doesn't have his dagger, but he's got a Fade pegged to the floor of his tent.
Yeah. As if it's nothing. That's
doing?
Like the least of his plans at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Pretty much it.
Yeah. All right. Well, did you guys pick a favorite moment?
Oh, difficult one.
It was a tricky one.
Mm.
Not for me.
Why don't you tell us what you picked, Vil?
Ultimately, mine comes down to Perrin and Fail's expanding and honest relationship. Um,
Mm.
and topped off by her saying to him that he's her wolf king. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I like that. It's my favorite moment is their honesty, her constant companionship in duty of care to Perrin, and just that building lasting relationship and
Yeah.
threatening him in the end with giving him the hiding that he gave her in the
Yes.
ways. So going back to that very long-winded discussion we had at that time about domestic violence, it is acceptable if it's both agreeing to it and it's their kink. Maybe that is just their kink.
Well, it certainly seems to be. Um, I'm glad I picked some honorable mentions, Villy, because this time I'm sharing a favorite moment with you.
Yeah.
That was mine as well. Them coming clean and sort of building that platform of trust. So,
That's a good
Joe,
one.
why don't you regale us with yours?
Mine was Matt.
Okay. Matt just not being there was a highlight for you.
No, it's always Matt. Of course, it's Perrin. We have very, very few opportunities. It's either Perrin or Perrin, or something to
Yeah.
do with Perrin. It was
Well, Fael,
Perrin.
goal loyal.
Something to do with Perrin. They're all Perrin hanger honors. Perrin coming into the Tinker camp and just like knowing everybody, knowing the rituals, and everybody looking at him, going like, "Who are you?" Like
It
I
was
can just
super
imagine
cool.
from everybody else's perspective, going like, "What?" You know, and the young ones not knowing anything, but even Fail going like a whole side of you that I didn't even know. He's had this whole he's got this whole past, and he knows all of these, like how worldly he's become. And also Isla's little thing, like, yeah, watch out for this guy. He's always got a pretty woman on his arm whenever I see him. Like, whoa, don't put me in the hot water with Fail, please.
But it's true, hey? Like Perrin plays his cards so close to his chest. He doesn't just
Mm.
divulge information for the sake of it. He doesn't blab. He is the
Yeah.
opposite of that. He is very, very quiet and reserved and stuff. And that's why all these people are like seeing sides of him that they've never seen before, and why Fael is still surprised by him and will still be surprised in the future. So like I said, my favorite moment was the same as Vil's, but I had some honorable mentions. One was the compliment Perrin gets from Thomas about having a good natural eye for gauging the battle, and the encouragement from Ivan saying, don't beat yourself up about a loss. Not even Arthur Hawkwing won all of his battles.
Yeah.
And the other honorable mention was the reaction from the Two Rivers bowmen that fired too quickly. And it was, I won't stand for this talking. Damn, it's a horde of trollocs charging down on them, and they're taking the time to sort of grumble about being spoken to
That's what
harshly.
they're bitching about. Yeah.
This is so classic, so stereotypical. So, to our listeners, send your favorite moments, your cool ideas, your theories, anything you want to add to the conversation, like we mentioned at the top of the show in the callback section. Write into us using our Twitter handle at Blood and Ash Pod, or reach out via any of our social media links in the episode description. Those are hyperlinks, so you should be able to just click on them and it'll send you through the right channel. Speaking of channels, we also now have a YouTube channel. With some videos around the recent airing of the television show and just some general thoughts. I think we'll use that as a platform for more Wheel of Time related videos, not necessarily related to the show, but just to the books in general, and cool conversations and discussions. Maybe we even get some fellow fans and guests on with us. So go check that out on YouTube. And then prepare yourself for our next episode, which will be chapter 45, called The Tinker's Sword, as Philly pointed out earlier, to chapter 48, An Offer Refused. Crickets. Don't remember anything. I don't know. Jody, you and Villy have both read these chapters, right?
I've read up to like chapter 53, but 2 weeks ago. I've already forgotten what they were.
So you stopped. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens, eh?
It gets good. That's all I remember. Like, can't put it down.
We'll read about those tinkers and their swords in our next episode, which will be in 2 weeks' time. So until then, I will see you gentlemen later.
Cheers.
Peace out.